Episode 12 with Jellipelli Siva Priya, Suman versus Human.
యా సుమన్ మొత్తానికి నన్నే మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేశారు.
Hello, listeners. Today we have a wonderful personality with us. She's a Wonder Woman indeed, because not only helping many disabled people in the country for their jobs, for their education, and their lifestyle, she have worked with many NGOs. So let's welcome Siva Priya. Good evening, Siva Priya. Welcome to my show, Suman versus Human.
Good evening, Suman. Good evening, good morning, everyone, wherever you're all joining from. And so nice to hear such a great introduction about myself. I'm just trying to help anyone who comes my way. So, yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Siva Priya, there is still so much to know about you. And I want you to open the book because I know you are a Wonder Woman. So your journey was wonderful. We want to know more and more details about you.
Sure, Suman. Happy to share more about me. So, would you like me to start with my journey, Suman?
No, I have a question. Question number one.
Sure. Sure.
What made you to think for people? Because generally today everyone are so eager about themselves. My job, my family, my life. But you are different. For you, first comes is others. First comes is your community. So you are helping the community so much that straight from education to their career, and also you are also developing their lifestyle. So first tell me, what made you to take that stand?
It has been an involuntary journey so far, and maybe I would give the credit of thinking first about others to my family, because since I was a child, I have been seeing my parents uh, helping others. Helping in the sense it can be as small as lending a newspaper to a neighbor to apply for their job, or it can be as big as lending gold for someone else's marriage. So, depends on the situation as to what the need is. We were always thankful that whichever most of the needs that came to us, we were able to cater to. So that we were always thankful about. Maybe I think my thought process also started from looking at my parents, and that credit goes to them.
Shivapriya, tell me, share something about the real time experience of working with an NGO, because today, see, honestly, there are hundreds, thousands of NGOs coming up in the country every day. Most of them are indeed working really hard to get the change, or making lives better. I cannot say everyone are like that, but there are few NGOs they doesn't work at all. Now, because you have seen so much when it comes to NGOs, and we want to know, my listeners want to know more about the work experiences with NGO and the kind of work they do to the community, to the society.
Like any other field, NGO field also has pros and cons, I would say. Like there are corporates or government offices that also have people who do not work much or who lack in processes, right? So it's the same way with NGOs if we have a broader look at it, right? But NGO sector has been evolving, and this is a boom period for the organizations that we are in currently. And compared to corporates, these might be lacking behind, but because this is the golden period, they are also into implementing robust processes so that all the transactions starting from the start point to till the end point. When I say start point, if we take the placement of a person with disability, let's say, the start point would be to talk to the person with disability and to get that person to the center. A lot of times it can also be convincing the family to get them to the training center, get them trained, then like skill them up, then get them clear the interview, and then get into the job. And post job support, like on the job also, a lot of disabled might need support because disability can vary from person to person, right? If it is a
Yes.
person with visual impairment, they might need support with screen readers. If that is a person with who is deaf, that person might need sign language interpretation or text to speech, speech to sign language softwares, or to type in text, whatever. So, whatever solution is needed at the workplace, also the NGOs are helping with. So, because I have the background of working with persons with disabilities, I'm focusing on that. But otherwise, if we see in India, NGOs have been doing phenomenal work these days, especially from the past 10, 15 years. And robust processes are being put in place so that none of the resources are wasted.
But people still have thing on their mind that NGOs really doesn't do much of the work, and most of the NGOs come into the market to eat up funds. What do you say about that?
So, like I was saying, Suman, we have like both kinds of positives and negatives in all the sectors. There are NGOs that might be doing that as well, but I think the government is also working towards making the regulations bit stringent. And if we have such doubt, like if as first person you are going to donate to an NGO, and if you would like to verify, maybe you can in person visit them and verify, or talk to someone who has already donated. Like there are ways where that we can verify with this, Suman. If we are talking in first person, and if we are talking in third person, I don't think we need to bother much about it. So,
I get emails every day. I get WhatsApp
hmm,
messages saying that we are an
okay.
NGO and we need to feed 40 students, 40 odd students, and we are lacking funds. So please
Yes,
donate and stuff like that. But it becomes really
yes.
very hard for us to decide if this one is a genuine message, is my money going for a genuine reasons or purposes, or I'm going to be a hunt of spammers.
Yeah, yeah. Here, maybe I can give you an example of like uh, how I dealt with this situation once. So we to get these messages on a daily basis, and if that is within our city, like once there was an NGO that was within the city I live in, and they were pooling funds because they did not have funding during Corona to feed the children in the NGO. So that's a NGO that works for orphan children. And what we did is we did not donate right away because we also had such doubt. What we did is during the weekend, we visited the place and checked if the NGO actually exists and if the kids are there. And then what we try to do is give the donation in kind. So in our case, children needed food at that time, and food was something that the NGO was also asking for. So we tried to get some offer food to them that day, and also get some provisions for the NGO. And we were there when the food is served and the children had it. I understand that this might not be a possibility for all of us because we might get requests from like different locations. Even if it is different locations and we are very much interested to do this, maybe we can stick to contributing to one NGO like after verification, That's what I have been following in another case, which has been helping me. Because if we are sticking to one particular NGO, we are constantly in touch with what's happening in the organization. And the management is also constantly in touch with us. So, like, these are all workarounds, I understand, but we have to cope up with the contemporary world, right?
But I don't understand why governments do not provide any financial support to NGOs, because why an NGO needs to beg around people for money or for funds?
So government has certain requirements as per their regulations, right? Even if the NGO need to have ATG, they have to have run business for this particular period of time and all that. Sorry, run the transactions for this particular period of time. So maybe based on those things the government looks at, and even the NGOs, if we see, it's been very difficult for them. Like, I'm just talking more about the positive edge of NGO, where the founders really want to work for the cause but are struggling to get resources,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So in the initial stages, I was advising an NGO based in Mangalore, and a couple started it for persons with visual impairment, and they have struggled a lot to put the core team to discuss as to what needs to be like the with the regulations, and if at all there is a RFP coming up, how to fill up the RFP and all that documentation work and all that. So they it took them like almost 4 to 5 months to put the core team together to discuss on this, and then go ahead with the activities. Even after that, they did not have a place to start the training. So even if there is strong intention, NGOs also have this problem of pooling resources, and like going to government at that point of time might not be the first choice, because they do not have an ATG this thing. So firstly, they have to get the ATG, and for any government grant, I think that there are some criteria that needs to be met. So, and um, a lot of us have this opinion that dealing with government might take some time compared to other organizations.
My dear listeners, there are so many NGOs in the world who really are doing fantastic work to uplift the community. But the problem here is money, because unless they have sufficient funding, they cannot go forward to help the society. Since there is not much support from government, NGOs reach out to people for donations. When you come across any such promos or event, I request you all to kindly, with an open heart, please make some contribution so that you will be a part of a beautiful journey in uplifting the society. Shivapriya, you spoke about visual impairment. You are also a visually impaired person, right?
Yes, Suman.
How did you start this journey?
To be honest, the journey has started with my parents and not with me. So I was diagnosed disabled when I was 2.5 years old. I wouldn't say disabled, I would say a person with visual impairment when I was 2.5 years old. However, doctors were just able to identify the visual impairment, but not the cause of visual impairment. By that time we did not have so much of technology to identify the cause. But my parents took a bold step to admit me into a regular school. And like I have studied, like I have done all my education in a regular school, college, and even my chartered accountancy I have studied using a magnification device. um, Just to give some context, I'm a person with low vision who can read uh, bolder text, maybe text around 18 to 24 font or so. So that was the font size with which I was reading. I was studying for my chartered accountancy also. And all the while, I must say, people have been really helpful. And like family has been the backbone, of course. So after the chartered accountancy, after clearing my CA Inter, which is the second stage of chartered accountancy, I had this question popping up in my mind always. Okay, what is it I'm going to do after my chartered accountancy? Because by the time I was not aware of any screen readers. I was studying using hand magnifiers or electronic magnifiers, or my learning used to happen mostly from the other children in the class reading things aloud. By the time they read it 10 times, I would have grasped it long back. So that was how I was coping up with my studies. So this question was always there in my mind, what am I going to do after this? But then I wanted to give my complete my CA final as well, which is why I went ahead and attempted twice for it. So after attempting it twice, I felt it has been so long that I have been studying for CA, and now it's time I go out and look for some opportunities. So I thought I'll take some time, and I have started searching for someone who is a person with visual impairment and who has done their chartered accountancy. At that time, we found someone called Rajini Gopalakrishnan. She was the first chartered accountant, first female chartered accountant who passed out in 90s. So we
I
tried to,
question a question. So first
yes,
blind chartered accountant or for
yes,
first woman chartered
sorry,
accountant?
sorry, yeah, she was the first female visually impaired chartered accountant.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Yes, yes. So we tried to get in touch with her, and visited her once when she told us about an organization in Bangalore which is called Enable India, that trains people with visual impairment. The next step was obviously to go to the organization and like learn the screen readers and all that. So once I stepped into Enable India, it has been a phenomenal journey over there, starting from learning screen readers to teaching screen readers to training people on their communication to preparing resumes to building a community for dance, whatnot, to attend, like to facilitate workshops in corporates, to make few ATMs accessible, to work on a low vision writing guide, whatnot. It has been a phenomenal journey. Post which, I had taken up an opportunity with Deloitte as an audit assistant for a fixed term. So after Deloitte, so all this was happening in Bangalore, and my residence is in Hyderabad. So I wanted to come back to Hyderabad to live with the family. So uh, I have quit Deloitte and come back to Hyderabad and started looking for opportunities in social sector. I was seeing more connected to the social work compared to my corporate career. So this was like attracting me. So I started for looking for a placement in Hyderabad, where I met a placement officer from one of the organizations who has been helping me like with the vacancies. And the first vacancy he told me was the first interview I attended, and that's what I cleared. And through which I have worked as center in charge for persons with for the Center for Visual Impairment for Youth for Jobs Foundation. And the journey has been phenomenal again there as well. One thing I would like to quote here about NGOs is that the growth opportunities are not hierarchical. If you are good, you can quickly climb up the ladder, um, your experience doesn't matter. So Youth for Jobs is one such NGO who works um up, who does what they talk. So yeah, so it was a phenomenal journey to build the center from the scratch to sending the students to a government examination and to um, get 100% result in every exam they attended till I was there. So yeah, and post that, um, Corona has happened. Okay, before Corona, I happened to apply for a fellowship twice, that is to work with government school children. So this assignment is to teach the children, or maybe spend time with children to help them understand what is not in their books. It can be about the environment, it can be about different countries in the world, different technologies that are coming up today, to introduce them to new things, right?
Yeah.
So I got an opportunity that year, like after working for a few years in Youth for Jobs. Once I got a call saying, if you can shift to Bangalore. So this fellowship was in Bangalore.
Hmm.
So if you can shift to Bangalore, we are happy to take you as a fellow. So that's where I quit my job and moved to Bangalore again, stayed there for a year, and then Corona happened. Once the fellowship is over, I was back in Hyderabad and then continued my journey where I was looking for remote opportunities, obviously because of Corona, and I took up an opportunity with Barrier Break Private Limited.
Priya, now tell me, you said you joined Enable India, and Enable India is in Bangalore,
Yes,
right? So
yes,
since you were blind experience was new that time, so no doubt your
yeah,
parents might be so worried about you. Tell me your
yes.
experience of being alone and away from your parents during that particular time when you were in Enable India.
Staying away from my parents first happened actually in 2008. When I went to NIVH, this is National Institute for Visually Handicapped, for a training that teaches us mobility. So, how can a visually impaired person navigate around without someone's assistance? And what are the clues we need to look for? For example, the institute used to have a beep sound for the incoming visually impaired or the outgoing visually impaired to identify the entrance. So those are some clues that we can look for, right? So these were all taught in a training there, which I went through. And the first day, if I like go back and think of it, it was so what it was so scary, I would say, because that was the first time I was away from my family. Secondly, we reached there by night, and I had to stay in hostel there. I did not know anyone around, and I did not know the language as well.
Hmm.
So so it was so scary even for my mom and my brother to leave me there, but they took a chance, and like because I was very strong about going out, staying alone, and being independent. They wanted to give me a chance, and they dropped me there and went. So slowly, people like friends there have started teaching me their language after the classes that happen in the morning. So it's the bond between people that matters, I would say, Subhan. Like
Yes.
along with the skill set, it's the bond, because my friends started teaching me language because they were afraid that I might not be able to communicate with them once I'm back home.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So this bond has been a very, very vital thing all through my journey, bonding with the people.
So, what exactly is barrier break, and uh, how this job is contributing towards barrier break?
Barrier break, as the name says, it works to break the barriers for persons with disabilities. And the company does is to make the digital assets accessible for everyone. Earlier we did not have so many compliances, or so many corporates were not interested in hiring people with disabilities, which is why there was no question of asking to make something accessible. But these days a lot of disabled workforce is building. Corporates are in need of making their digital assets accessible along with their workplace infrastructure. And the government is also coming up with compliances where the digital assets have to be accessible to everyone. So accessibility is what we do. What we create bug reports or audit reports based on the client requirements, um, and also provide remediation for them. For example, if there is a web page that cannot be read by a person with visual impairment, there is some code in it that is blocking the screen reader from reading the web page. What we do is we work with the developer or the client team to correct that code on the web page so that it is readable to screen readers. Not only screen readers, we consider all the disabilities. This was an example I was giving you.
Yeah.
We also work with documents. It's not that we are limited to only web pages. We work for mobile accessibility. We work for accessibility of web pages on Apple devices. We also work for document accessibility.
So you mentioned generally people won't employ people with disability much, right? So why today, not everyone are coming forward to employ people with disabilities?
I was mentioning about the situation few years back, Suman. Even now, there are very few people who are aware of people with disabilities and the challenges they face. So awareness is what is important, be it in social spaces or the professional spaces or the educational spaces. If people come across a person with disability, I have really not like in my journey so far, I have not come across someone who were rude to me knowing I was a person with disability, right? So people try to understand if we can help them understand. So yeah, like it's not one way. Like I would like to say this to persons with disabilities who are listening to the podcast as well. So let us also be inclusive in talking to people, helping them understand. Let us not assume that everyone knows about disability, or everyone themselves have to know about disability, right? Even
Yes.
for us, it has been a lot of people helping us learn a lot of things to go ahead with our journey. So let us also help them learn about us. So that's what I have been doing, and that's what has been helping me all the while.
Tell me about your family, Priya.
So my family is a small nuclear family. My father was a business person in a small town called Nellore. He was working abroad before marriage, but later on, like my mom and dad did not want to live in a different country and all that. So they have built a home in Nellore itself, and we were brought up in Nellore. Mm, Mom and dad have always been my backbone, and like from my childhood, and now my brother is being my backbone, who could put together his courage to help his visually impaired sister go ahead with her education. Like after my parents passed away is when I have started studying for chartered accountancy. By that time we did not have a source of income, I would say, because my brother was also into his BTech, still not passed out of BTech, and I had just completed my plus two. Imagine a young person who was in his 20s trying to take the responsibility of his sister who is visually impaired, helping her all the way to make her independent, where she is able to help, a lot other people from the community. I would like to salute my brother, honestly, more than, no, I wouldn't say more than my parents, but parents are still like, they take the responsibility. They feel children as their own, their own part. But I would like, from my story at least, I would request the siblings of persons with disability. I know a lot of them who have been so much supportive, but I know a few of them who if are bit more supportive, the disabled can progress a lot more in their life. So I would request the listeners for that, and I salute my brother for what he has been supporting me with.
So, how old were you when you lost your parents, Priya?
I was 17, Suman, when I lost my father, and when I lost my mom, I was 19.
In such a young age, it would have been very tough for you to handle everything, right?
It was indeed. We still keep thanking God that me and my brother were at least there to, support each other to cope up with things. At that time, we have seen people, like even the extended family. I do not want to like point out anyone, but uh, nothing can change what we feel, right?
Yes.
So what I have seen from the extended family is, they offer us a visiting card to, call up or inform them if we need anything. And only me and my brother were the ones left in the family when my mom also passed away. So that was the situations we saw. So yeah.
And I'm sure those visiting cards was of never used.
Never any use. Yeah.
Yeah. I salute you for the determination what you had. Priya, now we are coming to the most important part that I have this question for all my guests coming on the show. So you have to answer this, and there is no option of saying no. Priya, tell
Okay.
me, if you have all the powers in your hands, if you have all the superpowers with you, so what is that one thing you want to change in this country?
Okay. Uh, this is a big question, Suman.
But you have to answer.
Maybe I would. I'm not sure, because like I have a problem with these regulations and the organization system that we have. But in some way, I'll try to get people with different requirements together. It can be a small requirement of needing books or a uniform for school. I'm not talking just about persons with disabilities, anyone with need. There are like lakhs of people who need a lot of things at different points of time. It can be just a word of counseling also. So I wish I can reach a lot of people who need help at the right time and be able to cater to their need, because I believe this will go a long way. A help we receive from someone will go a long way, will imbibe the thought of we also being helpful to others. And I have seen that all my in all my journey. So maybe I'll try doing this in a big way, Suman.
You're already doing this, and for sure you will continue doing this.
Thank you so much, Suman.
It was awesome having you on my show, Priya. Thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to interview you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
So, my dear listeners, this was Shiva Priya. I hope you had a wonderful time listening to her. Like, share, and follow me if you have not done yet. Thank you for listening.